This is Adrian Cronauer, the guy Robin Williams played on the movie Good Morning Vietnam. I just want you to know I always tune in to the News Guardian right here on Fox Radio 910.
In 1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
Oh, yeah. I like that. I like our plug from Adrian Cronauer, the guy Robin Williams played in Good Morning Vietnam.
We had no idea that Adrian Cronauer was a listener.
Yes.
How about that?
We got a chance to talk to him for a good half an hour.
See, broadcast professionals know where to find good broadcast radio, right?
Absolutely. So we'll get a chance you'll get a chance to hear our interview with Adrian Cronauer
Next week.
So, do you know what day we're going to do it on?
No.
Ooh.
You'll just have to wait till next week. But we will know in advance.
Was Adrian Cronauer part of that secret 1972 training team that can he be part of the A-Team now?
Well, he would have probably been in his 30s during the end of Vietnam right then. So, but I think he was out of the military by then. I think he did his tour of duty and he was discharged honorably. And
he worked out his law degree because he's a lawyer. He's worked on MIA issues. He's a very interesting guy. I mean, he's a lot more than he managed to sell that script to Robin Williams. Of course, the story isn't nearly. Like most Hollywood stories, it took some liberties with his story, but he's an interesting guy, and his work with MIAs, you can really tell when you talk to him. That's where his passion lies. Was working to try and help on with MIAs and prisoners of war, which I think is a very noble cause. So, but you'll hear more about it from him in the coming days.
You certainly will. Speaking of lawyers, did you hear that our illustrious mayor is hanging up the law books?
I did.
How about that?
I know it's.
Is that because nobody will hire him anymore to do any meaningful legal work, or is his job as mayor just so overtaxing that he doesn't have time? What is that all about?
I mean, would you trust David Bowers as your legal representative in court?
Well, not if making a crack legal case were necessary, but if it were a good old boy thing and all you needed was somebody who knew the right people to grease the right hand.
Yeah, he'd be great at that sort of thing.
Well, sure. And unfortunately, in our legal system, regardless of what people think, that's a lot of how it operates. And that's wrong, but that's the way it is. So many interesting stories today.
I heard Roanoke dropped on a list.
Yes, we'll tell you about that. Roanoke City dropped 29 places on a list of mid-sized cities when measuring their viability for someone opening up a manufacturing establishment in the city.
I'm shocked.
But don't worry, because Ray Ferris and Bill Bestpitch and Dave Trinkle say everything is awesome. Don't look over here at the jobs we're losing and at the strife and at the hunger and at the poverty and the crime. Look over here at this awesome new amphitheater
with no seats. No seats in our amphitheater.
Don't look down at the market to the open air toilet. Look over here.
Look up. If you do look up at the sky and see the $1 million butterfly farm.
Yeah, oh my gosh. So that's just, I mean, how many different ways are there to say I told you so?
It'll be apparent over the next 2 years.
To some people, but I'm telling you,
well, I don't think same people, it's like in the national scene. How many more things does President Obama have to do to violate the Constitution, to ruin your trust, to break every promise he's ever made to the American people before people realize he is a rogue president in direct violation of his constitutional duty?
Well,
and the bottom line is people aren't going to recognize it because they have a vested interest in not recognizing it.
I'd say that's right. So we'll tell you the specifics on that story, as well as Whoopi Goldberg whipping out some racism on a white man on television.
I'm shocked.
And we have the audio, and Another local story. All of the financial backers, except for one, have backed out of paying for the 4th of July celebration in Roanoke, because Roanoke is such an awesome city that
everybody wants to be a sponsor.
That only one business in this entire city is willing to sponsor the 4th of July celebration.
And I bet you, without knowing, if you didn't know who that one sponsor was, I bet you know exactly you could guess who it was, because they're the biggest supporters of the awesome Ray Ferris, David Trinkle, Bowers, Best Pitch team, who are just doing awesome things for Roanoke.
If you stick around, we'll tell you who that is. It's going to be exciting, and it might surprise you.
Oh, it won't surprise anybody who's been paying attention. Who the one sponsor
What
is.
should surprise you is who is refused and won't no longer
That is
sponsor.
interesting, because it is interesting how sometimes,
after everything the politicians in this city have done to terrorize citizens, steal their property, to tyrannize them on behalf of this particular corporate interest, they won't even throw down a few $1,000s on a 4th of July celebration. This is telling. And what this tells you is that all this nonsense that our city leadership keeps telling us about how to attract business and how to deal with business and how to grow the economy in Roanoke is flat out wrong, because they just got pwned by the very people that they've been in bed with helping for decades. And we're going to tell you all about
irony,
it.
irony.
But first, a funny story.
Yes.
You're going to love this.
I laughed out loud when he told me the story this morning.
School drops Cougars as team name because it might
Offend, like, animal rights activists?
Because it might offend women.
Women?
Corner Canyon High School hasn't even opened yet, and it's already facing controversy. The new school, scheduled to open in Draper, Utah, announced it had chosen its mascot and school colors. According to KSTU-TV, Fox 13, future students within the school's boundaries were mailed ballots to vote for the sports team's colors and mascot. The colors, navy and silver and white, were selected, and the Charger was named the mascot, the first in Utah to use it. But the Chargers wasn't the most popular team name with the kids. Instead, the top name was the Cougars. Other choices included Diamondbacks, Falcons, Raptors, Broncos, Bears, and Cavaliers. But the Cougar was rejected by the school board because it might be offensive to middle-aged women.
That's too funny. Wow. Yeah, baby. Now, is every school that has Cougars as a mascot have to change it now, so they don't have a 40 or 50 some old woman who's chasing after young guys? Is that going to have to happen across the country?
At the moment, this is only a problem in this isolated area, because it says, of course, there are other teams that already use the name Cougars, including 3 other high schools in Utah. Even Utah's biggest college, Brigham Young University, uses the animal as its mascot, which is probably why so many kids voted for it, because they're Brigham Young fans. Once again, this is just ridiculous political correctness run amok. We can't call a sports team Cougars because it might offend middle-aged women. Now, last time I checked, I didn't see all that many middle-aged women unhappy about being desirable. And isn't that the crux of the slang use of cougar?
Yes. I believe so.
In fact, on the story, if you read through the comments, there are a number of women who go, I wish I was a cougar. I'd love to be a cougar. So nobody seems offended by anything other than the fact that they wouldn't let these kids have the name they wanted.
Well, and it's standard operating procedures for bureaucracies to have a low tolerance for risk. So if someone says, "Oh, Cougars," I saw this thing about women who are Cougars. We don't want to offend anybody, so let's not pick Cougars. Oh yeah. It's just a mascot. Who cares? Let's pick something else. I mean, but it is kind of funny. When you said it, I just kind of I chuckled out loud. I'm like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But
well, as an explanation, the story goes on to say, as pointed out on TV shows like Courtney Cox's Cougar Town and Tina Fey's 30 Rock, one episode actually titled Cougars featured the 41-year-old Tina Fey going on a date with a 20-year-old. The term has been popularly known to describe an older woman who dates younger men. Even online dating websites have popped up specifically for the Cougar crowd. connecting interested males with females that are 50 to 30 years their senior.
That's ridiculous.
These poor kids.
Ridiculous.
And do you think that's why do you think these kids have any idea that the big cat with sharp teeth and long tail and four paws and fur was not what they were voting for? In fact, I think somebody should slap around the school board for having such a dirty mind.
Well, maybe all the young high school boys voted for it because they were hoping there was a cougar.
Really?
I doubt it.
Really? Is that the official position of Chip Starbutton now?
I just say could be. you say you never know exactly what's happening, Greg. So
And you don't.
It could have been. That could have been it. I doubt it, but it could be.
You're absolutely right. All right, it's time for the first break. When we come back, we're still going to tell you about who will no longer pay for the Roanoke City's 4th of July celebration.
And who will.
We'll talk about how Roanoke City moved down 29 spaces in a list ranking mid-sized cities for companies to put manufacturing plants in, and Whoopi Goldberg on The View whipping out the reverse racism on a white guy. All when we return to News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
And we're back. So we had a bunch of stories to talk about, but you brought one very, very interesting piece in that's kind of a follow-up to this whole thing with Senator Puckett resigning and being bribed with a job with the tobacco something or other.
The Tobacco Commission. Well, we said right from the start that it looked shady. The Republicans are, oh, no, nothing to do with Medicaid expansion. No.
In fact, my first comment on hearing that was, how is this not bribery?
So there's a series of emails that have popped up, and while they don't specifically state a quid pro quo, they are rather damning. Honestly, it's a pretty interesting. So there's a series of emails. One of them, this is from somebody on the commission talking about his email with former Senator Puckett, and it said, I implored him to decouple those announcements for the sake of the appearance of the commission, manipulating the Senate balance of power and starting World War III with the governor's administration, unquote. So certainly the commission was aware of the political ramifications of this announcement. So it looks like they were trying to decouple the announcements. So, of course, Puckett's going to say, well, it was just a PR thing. I mean, people are trying to put two things together. It had nothing to do with it. It's fine.
Really? They didn't have anything to do with each other? Seriously? Come on. I mean, that's insulting, honestly. That's just insulting that they would try to push that lame idea on us. The interesting thing here is that Puckett, everybody involved who was getting something out of this little scam didn't seem to see the problem. But, another person who's actually on the commission who doesn't have anything to gain from this situation is just a sideline observer and will have to feel the effects of what goes on is the one who has to say, hey, you all are going to start World War III by doing this. What in the world are you doing?
Well, one of the emails concluded, let's hope all of this goes as smoothly as possible. That didn't. Well, that hope didn't come through because it's been a mess, and hell hath no fury like a Democrat scorned.
Well, and see, I don't. Did they really not bank on the fact that the balance of power in the Senate right now with the Medicaid expansion was so important that Democrats would eat one of their own, somebody who's been there for them for a long time, that the loyalty would go to the wayside immediately and they would start screaming for his head? Did they not realize that there's an ever-growing population of Republicans who are not willing to lie, cheat, and steal for their party to get what it wants? Have they not figured these things out yet? Because they should have, if they didn't before, they should see it now.
Well, on the Democrat side of things, the needs of the many do outweigh the needs of the few, Greg. Because Puckett has to be taken out and ostracized and eventually decapitated for his bad behavior, that's fine.
Does what the need is actually enter into that? Like, let's say that the need of the many was to have iced tea, and the need of the few was to have freedom unencumbered by police brutality. Do the needs of the many still outweigh the needs of the few?
No. What only thing that matters is what keeps Democrats in power. The needs are really ridiculous. They don't mean anything. They've sold people on the fact that Democrats have done a marvelous job of marketing themselves as the advocates for the poor, the downtrodden, and the average Joe. But they care less about the average Joe, the downtrodden, or anyone else. They're just tools in their game to keep power, and it's sick. It's twisted, it's wrong, but it is what it is. The sad part is the Republicans try to do the same things. They're just not as good at it because there's enough Republican voters out there who, like as you said, demand a certain level of honesty and integrity from their politicians that Democrats don't seem to care. I mean, Democrats are perfectly fine with having an accused rapist as a president. They're perfectly fine with having a president who has a questionable citizenship status and has lied to them repeatedly over and over and over and over again. They're perfectly fine with it because, he's got a lovely wife and they really care. I mean, if you have this constituency that only cares about appearance and being told what they want to hear, it's a beautiful place to be if you're a politician. You can get away with murder.
Well, and I guess
literally,
if you're getting what you want and there's no repercussions, it's a beautiful place to be if you're a Democrat.
Oh yeah, the problem is Republicans tend to demand that sort of thing from their politicians. At least, let's hope they do in Thad Cochran's case. I know we talked about this. This is the third day in a row we talked about it. But again, I just mentioned that there's some question now coming out that there's a lot of illegal votes that went for Thad Cochran in the state of Mississippi because they have some specific rules about who can and can't vote in those runoff elections, and it looks like the Democrats may have violated that a lot. Now, regardless of what the recount turns out, if there's a recount, if there's a change, if you're a Republican and you supported McDaniels in Mississippi and you vote for Thad Cochran, you are basically saying, please screw me over again, please.
Well, and what
you can't not. I mean, I know it stinks to have 6 years of a Democrat, but you can't let it happen. You just can't.
Well, no. If you go out because of the lesser of two evils and because we can't let the Democrat win, and you vote for Thad Cochran and put him back into the Senate, what you are saying to the people who lied, cheated, and stole that primary from you is, we will accept this abuse from you. So whenever you need to pull one over on us, those behaviors are acceptable by us. We will still show up and vote after the fact. You are guaranteeing that this is the way you will be treated
forever
till the end of time.
And I know it stinks. I know it's a horrible Hobbesian choice. It's a Hobbesian choice. There's no good option here because you definitely don't want a Democrat. I get that. I totally get that. But you cannot let this stand. You can't. You got to make sure he loses. You got to. There's no other option, and it's a terrible option. I get it.
And just so people know, what's now starting to be uncovered here is that people who voted in the Democrat primary down there, many of them also voted in the Republican runoff, which is illegal. You can't vote in both. And one person has claimed that in just one precinct, they have found 800 voters who voted in the Democrat primary and in this runoff for Cochran, which means those votes are illegal. So if that's true, and you have just 800 of them in one area, in just one place down there,
he only lost by 6,000 votes.
And he only lost by 6,000 votes. What are the chances if you look for people who voted illegally across the state that you're going to find that Cochran didn't actually win?
Could be. I mean, even if he did win, I'm just saying, regardless of whether he wins or loses, if you go out and vote for Cochran, you are basically saying, please slap me again. You're like it's like being in an abusive relationship and taking that abusive spouse back and letting him beat you up again.
Well, and I don't want to diminish that, spousal abuse in that way, but the dynamic is similar. That's exactly what you're doing. The only way to stop someone from mistreating you is to stop being mistreated. Walk away, leave, fight back, but don't comply because of some...
I know the choice is horrible, but this cries for party unity just need to fall on deaf ears.
Party unity is the equivalent of "I'll never hit you again, baby."
Yeah, amen.
That's what that is. We're the News Guardians. He's Chip. I'm Greg. We'll be back on Fox Radio 910.
In 1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
Oh, yeah, baby. The political A-Team is on the radio.
Minus the Mini 14 and the helicopter and the improvised tank.
I would love to have that helicopter. That would rock. Having a helicopter would be cool. You know, Carillion has a helicopter.
I know.
And we're gonna bust on Carillion here in a little while.
I know. Well, maybe they were just smart to get out while they could. Maybe sometimes you have to cut your losses when you realize that your partner's going down the tubes.
Perhaps. It's amazing how fast 1 hour radio goes. Did you hear about Congressman Morgan Griffith's bill?
Yes, I did.
So if people out there hadn't heard about this yet, the cell phone companies have decided they're going to put kill switches on your cell phones. And before you think, oh, no, I'm just going to keep the phone I have so I don't have to buy one of the kill switch phones. Not so fast. Because the kill switch is actually something that can be shot into your phone as an update using software. So just because you have a phone right now that is free from the kill switch does not mean
there's not going to be a little lever in my phone that I have to depress to kill it.
Nope. The only phones that are not susceptible to this are pre-smartphone phones, which I still have a couple and may return to. But seeing that this is a possible abuse of power from the federal government, Morgan Griffith proposed a bill that would basically tell the feds and law enforcement at the state level, local, you cannot turn off people's phones without a warrant. Like, that's not something you should have to have a law for, because I think the Fourth Amendment is pretty specific on that.
Oh, yeah.
But
in the recent Supreme Court ruling on cell phones would probably lend itself. Seems like to me that's the mood of the Supreme Court right now, how they're ruling on this sort of thing.
Yep. So as promised, we're going to bring you Whoopi Goldberg in her own words. Now, we do not condone racism nor bigotry in any form. However, those who have made themselves our political enemies, they condone it when they want to, and they attack it when they don't like it. There's a double standard, of course.
No.
In this.
A double standard? You say it ain't so.
Oh, it's so. So, on The View, the ladies at The View had Will Cain, who's from The Blaze. And they were on there talking about First Amendment and free speech and, words you shouldn't say. And this exchange went on between him and Whoopi Goldberg, where she finally just tells him, well, of course you'd say that. You're a white guy. Oh, anyway, don't trust me. Because I'm going to play it for you. Here you go. Take a listen.
Well, what you can do is say, you know what? Don't use that redskin thing anymore. I'm not comfortable with it. Don't say this word because I don't like it. I'm Irish. I don't want to hear this. Every one of these groups has the absolute right to say, this has been harmful. This has hurt my parents. This has hurt my grandparents. And don't use it anymore or you're going to hear of it. Or use it and don't be surprised that people are pissed.
We'll all stop talking
talking. Everybody's offended all the time. From the Fighting Irish to the Redskins, everybody's offended.
Wait. That is spoken like a true white guy.
Maybe. That's what I am.
Spoken like a true white guy, because if you... And I don't mean it in a bad way.
And I don't
mean it in a bad way.
Seriously?
I mean, again, speaking of the double standard, let's just take that, or let's just reverse that. So let's say a black commentator goes on to a talk show and starts making the opposite point, and the person spoke like a black guy. How long would it take that guy to get fired from his job? Seriously.
Oh. We know how that worked. The double standard is fully in place. And the defense here for Whoopi Goldberg is going to be, she's just a comedian. Who takes her seriously? You're just looking for things to complain about.
Yeah, just like a white guy.
Just like a white guy to complain about Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, sorry, I did it again. No, I'm proving the double standard. Just like a white guy. Oh no, it's a vicious cycle. I can't break the cycle.
No, I don't know what can be done.
Honestly, the way that it's set up today, if you are white and you speak on the issue of race, you can't really say anything anymore without offending someone.
Well,
unless you're supporting the status quo,
you can say things that aren't offensive. But I think it's if you're a white person speaking on that, and you're a white person that various races you may be talking about don't like, then no matter what you say, they're going to find a way to attack you for it. Even if they agreed with you, you're the enemy. So they're going to find a way to twist your words and attack you. You're not getting out of that.
No.
Now, so you can either be fearless and trudge forward and continue to do the right thing regardless of what the repercussions will be, or you have to give up and stop fighting.
Is this what Martin Luther King was fighting for? Is this the dream he had, that we would live in a society where the color of your skin became the issue on everything? Wasn't it supposed to be judging the character of the content of your character, not the color of your skin? Wasn't that the way it was supposed to be? Wasn't that the dream?
Well, obviously not, because they shot him.
Well, it was his dream. It didn't, but... I mean, we start out, we celebrate Martin Luther King and all the great things that he did for this nation, and then we completely destroy the concept in which he pushed for. It's sickening.
By the very people who carry his pictures and repeat his words and exalt him, they're abjectly defying what it was he said we should be doing. Yeah,
because
thanks, Whoopi.
He was a pastor, and you can. There's different takes on a lot of things on the Christian faith, but this whole Great Commission thing and spreading the whole gospel because everyone deserves salvation kind of speaks against this whole racism thing. It's. I mean, being a racist and being a Christian are mutually exclusive if you're doing it right.
You're just saying that because you're a white guy.
Oh, that's a white guy thing again. I'm sorry. Because all the guys who read the Bible were white guys. Oh, sorry, they were mostly Jewish. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
98% Jewish, I think. So except for Luke, I think he was a Gentile. So
Luke Skywalker.
Luke. They don't give his last name.
I'm trying to find something more fun to think about. Lightsabers and getting one over on Darth Vader.
I don't think the Dr. Luke who walked around in the aftermath of Jesus' crucifixion carried a lightsaber. Sorry, I know that doesn't make it as cool, but
if he had,
it would have been awesome. So much for those Romans.
Well, speaking of Star Wars and
I want to see how you segue this into the story we're talking about.
And Darth Vader. Roanoke has its own Dark Lord, and when we return from this break, we will talk about what our very own Roanoke Dark Lord and Council of Dark Lords has done. Just what is the state of the city from the very people who brought you everything is awesome.
Or 15 minutes of I told you so.
When we return to News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
Good to be back. for a few minutes. Fastest hour in radio, almost over.
Well, and I want to spend as much time as we can beating on Roanoke City Council. So let's go.
All right. Do we want to start with how lame they are as to overseeing the demise of the 4th of July celebration?
Yes, they have one sponsor left, and you'll never guess who the one sponsor, the biggest supporter of the cronies that run Roanoke City Council.
Now, the information here is coming from the Roanoke Times. The headline, City Steps In to Keep Roanoke Fireworks Show.
Thank goodness for the city.
With every corporate sponsor but the Roanoke Times withdrawing from the annual July 4th fireworks event in Roanoke, the city has stepped in to make sure the show goes on. So,
yes, we wouldn't want their friends.
Everybody backed out.
Except for the Roanoke Times, because they love them some Ray Ferris.
In 2012, the newspaper decided to stop funding the live music, which it continued to fund the $20,000 fireworks display along with WDBJ7 and Kroger. That year, Wilkins got other Jan Wilkins was the event producer. She got other corporate sponsors to fill in the void, including Berglund Automotive Group and Carillion Clinic. That arrangement continued last year, but in 2014, they have all dropped out, including Carillion.
And that's got to hurt because Carillion, they've been, like as you said on the break, they've been robbed, stolen, abused the people of Roanoke for Carillion for a decade or more to get them what they want.
Yeah, now think about all that Roanoke City's leadership has done to individuals in our city at the behest of helping Carillion expand its profits, grow, and make money. And how does Carillion show their thanks to the leadership of Roanoke City? By saying, pay for your own fireworks show. We're out of here. The millions and millions and millions of dollars that people on our city council have used their positions of power to help Carillion make, and they can't throw back the city a few $1,000s for a fireworks show as a thank you.
Well, two things. I mean, and if you think we're exaggerating that, the General Assembly had to amend the state constitution based on how badly the city abused its own citizens on an eminent domain case for Carillion.
Yeah. I mean, people lost their land, they lost their businesses, they lost their livelihoods, all because the city wanted to give these things to Carillion. And
the reason it passed
now
is because of what they did to Roanoke.
So, when election time comes around, and we just had one, and you blew it, Roanoke City. But when it comes around, these are the kind of things you need to think about. Just how good are these people at managing the relationships with these large corporate entities? If they've basically stomped on the throats of Roanokers on behalf of Carillion, and they can't even get Carillion to pony up a few $1,000s for some fireworks in return. Well, something is definitely wrong with our Roanoke City Council's ability to manage the business relationships right here in the city.
But they're doing a great job of attracting business, right? I mean, because when you have an amphitheater and an outdoor public toilet in the market square, you are going to attract business, right?
Actually, no. Here's another article. City Council's wasteful spending isn't working. Roanoke plunges 29 places on ranking of best mid-sized cities for manufacturing jobs. Reading on, City Council borrows to build an amphitheater. City Council borrows to build libraries. City Council borrows to spend money on the market building, and on Center in the Square. City Council says all of this borrowing and spending will bring jobs to Roanoke. But while the debt certainly adds up, the jobs do not. Quickly, on the heels of Advance Auto Parts relocating jobs to Raleigh, North Carolina, we find that Roanoke has dropped 29 places to 39th overall in the New Geography's ranking of best mid-sized cities for manufacturing.
Now, this is interesting because research, according to the same article, research suggests that much of the new manufacturing growth will be in metro areas in the South and the Great Plains. So you'd think Roanoke would be primed as a mid-sized city in the South to pick up jobs, but somehow based on Advanced Auto Parts starting to shift the jobs out of the area, and this ranking and their inability to attract new business, I wonder why that is. I mean, wouldn't you think? I mean, if you owned a business, the first thing I'd say is, do you have an amphitheater without seats?
Do you have a homeless problem? Do you have an amazingly inordinate high percentage of your children having parents who can't afford to buy them school lunch? Because if you do, then we'd love to come to your city.
Do you have a stormwater problem where if I build a building in downtown Roanoke,
it might
it's like a flood? So that sounds like an attractive thing to attract a business here. High taxes, you got those? Oh yeah, you got way high taxes. Fees.
No, what you need to attract business is the highest crime rate in the state of Virginia. That will attract business to Roanoke.
And an almost legendary regulatory problems when you try to start a business in Roanoke. That's appealing to business.
And when Roger Maloof and Hank Benson and Jim Garrett said, enough is enough, this is wrong, you can't do this to people anymore. What did Dave Trinkle and Bill Bestpitch and Ray Ferris say to them?
You will respect my authority.
Don't worry, we got it under control. Everything's awesome. We're on the right track. And you know who the only people who bought that story was, the people that mattered, was the Roanoke Times. And of course, they're their only sponsor left in the fireworks show too. But I mean, the day before that May 6th election, the shameful journalism that came out of the Roanoke Times, where they put pictures glorifying all the stuff that the Roanoke City Council had done and how awesome it was going to be, and ignoring all the other stuff that was on the horizon.
That's in fact, that's still available on newsguardians.com if you'd like to see what that is where Chip's talking about. You can go to newsguardians.com, scroll back to the early May, right before the election, and you'll find it. Or there's a search feature on there. You can search probably for something like Roanoke Times, and it'll bring up that story. And you tell us if what you're seeing there is honest election reporting, or is it a glorified printed PowerPoint presentation to the re-election of the incumbents in Roanoke. You be the judge. Don't take our word for it. See, that's the difference, is we offer people the opportunity to be free, make their own decisions, and decide things. But our political opposition doesn't. They say,
you will respect my authority.
That's the way they treat you. You're going to do what they say. You don't have to like it. You just have to do it. And if you don't, then we will pester you. We will use every means of regulatory abuse at our disposal. If that doesn't work, we'll drag you into court. If you refuse to show up, we'll put a gun to your head. You will respect our authority. Well,
there you go.
That's what you got. 29 places. We dropped 29 places in one swoop on the list of cities good for manufacturing.
It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, that's the sad part about all this, is that Roanoke offers you're on a convenient transportation hub.
Yeah.
You've got great transportation.
We are a quick whip down 220 to get into the Greensboro Triad. We are right here on 81, which puts us conveniently into East Tennessee, into West Virginia.
Northern Virginia.
Yeah, and up into Northern Virginia.
You're 2 or 3 hours away from every major metropolis in the Mid-Atlantic region.
The city is beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Our environment here is not destroyed yet.
You've got a decent workforce here. You've got the capability. I mean, the advantages to Roanoke are amazing. Any sensible economic plan from a city council, which would basically be get out of the way of business, would work. It would work like gangbusters.
Yep. The citizens of Roanoke could experience an economic prosperity not heard of since after World War II. If you would just elect leadership that would do the right thing instead of giving you bread and circuses while your crime goes up, while your city falls apart. You could have it all, Roanoke.
But you'll get Sheryl Crow. I mean, you know, as of all the problems you have, you do get Sheryl Crow at an amphitheater without seats.
That reminds me of a quiz I saw online. I'm going to I'm looking this up now so I can give you the quiz. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's see. It is bingo. Here we go. All right. Quiz. Found it. All right. Pop quiz. Why is Advance Auto Parts ditching Roanoke for Raleigh? You ready?
I'm ready.
A, 40% for schools isn't quite cutting it. B, there's not enough libraries in Roanoke. C, couldn't get tickets to Sheryl Crow. Or D, a better business climate.
I'm going to go with D.
Really? Because I thought it was not enough libraries.
Yeah, because if we just had one more. Well, I don't think you need more libraries. You just need really, really nice libraries. Just expand them and make them super, super nice community centers where we can indoctrinate and give people a chance to read books.
Can you just see our city council and our illustrious mayor chasing the Advance Auto people as they flee town, saying, "We're fixing the libraries. Come back.
We've got an amphitheater without seats. Come back.
Sheryl Crow's coming. I'll spot you some tickets, dude. Come back.
We have more concrete per square inch than any amphitheater in America."
Our amphitheater collects its own water. It's green. Come back.
It has full spouty things that shoot up in the air so the kids can play in the nasty recycled water. Woo!
The idiocy never seems to stop.
But, you know, the people of Roanoke City have only one person to blame for this situation, and that's themselves, because they keep electing these dopey people who have dopey. And just like the council member, the Republican ticket said, what's happening is happening, and it's going to continue to happen, and it's only going to get worse.
Yep. And we're going to continue to tell you about it because we think it's wrong. We want Roanoke to be free and prosperous. We want the citizens of Roanoke to experience a prosperity unheard of in modern times, and they can do that. And we're not going to stop talking about the things that will make that happen, and we're not going to stop talking about the things that are preventing it until we get there. So listen up, because it ain't going away. But we are, because it's the end of the show. Have a great weekend. I'm Greg.
I'm Chip. Have a great weekend.